Hello and welcome again to Embroidery for the SCA period. I'm Agnes Berengari de Harana, and I am here to show you how to do couching. We are going to do a couching stitch. What would you use a couching stitch for? Why would you want to do a couching stitch? Well, a couching stitch is for those times when you have like a really thick thread or a thread that's extremely delicate and cannot go through the fabric a lot. This can be, oftentimes this is threads like your metallic threads. So I'm going to start with a metallic thread here. Now, there are two types of couching starts. Okay, this one I have my little knot. I'm not going to away waste this knot. It's going to stay where it's at. Okay, because, you know, we're not taking this thread outside the way, you know, outside of itself. So I'm going to go in the middle of my circle. There is a circle there, you just can't see it. Okay, and this is going to go round and round and round and round and round. Okay, the other way would be just laying your thread down. I'm going to get rid of this because this is driving me crazy. I'm going to go back and take that one out whenever I decide to do that. Now, so your next step, okay, in this process, yay, is we are going to take our couching thread, and in this case, it is a silk 103 couching, which is generally used for couching in gold work. And again, it's knotted. I'm not going to worry about the knots because I want this to stay in. Okay. You can, you know, there are things you can do. Oop, that didn't work. There are things you can do to make it work better, but this is just the way I'm going to do it. I think I may do let's see if I can do a quick, I'm just going to do a quick down just to kind of give it a little more oomph on the, that didn't work. Okay, let me try a heavier knot. I was using my fancy knot, and I guess I need to do a heavier, more bulkier knot. This thread is a little bit tinier than the fabric. The fabric is a even weave linen that's not meant to work with a very fine thread like this. So couching, basically what you're doing is you're taking this thread and you're going, woohoo, I'm down. And you're taking thread. Oh, now what are you doing? Don't you dare do that to me. Okay, good. And we're gonna, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to go around, and couching is straight up and straight down over your thread. Okay, hold on one moment. I'm gonna move this back just a tad because I need to have, where are we? Are we in the picture? Not very well. Okay. So I'm going to take this way, and I think what I might do, couching can be done in patterns, and it was often done in patterns in period, so that, you know, it really made some beautiful decorative work. It is not so, you know, it was generally used for things like, there's a pencil. I'm going to use a pencil. You can use, okay, so I'm going to go straight down there, and I'm going to go straight up here. Here, hold on, let me move that. There we go. I'm going to go straight up here, straight down there, straight across. There we go. And I'm going to add some over here, over here, over here, and over here. Okay. Normally I wouldn't recommend a pencil, but I use pencils all the time. Pencils are okay by me, but, you know, some people don't like pencils. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start circling this thread. Okay, note it's going to circle the, and I'm doing it, keeping it all on top. And I'm going to make sure that where I come up, I go down very close to it. Okay, so where I come up, which is there, and I'm gonna go down. Okay, I'm gonna go down right here because that's where my line is. I'm gonna go down here. And you don't have to, I mean, there are different ways of doing this. Okay, but go up. I figured I'd do it in a circle today. Because to just kind of show you what a fun little stitch this can be. I'm going to go up. Again, I'm starting in the middle. Okay, I'm going to go and move this over here. And you notice I'm using my finger to hold it in place. I'm also using my needle, because my needle helps give it some weight. And you do not want to, you know, the placement of the thread here. I'm gonna come up in the middle, up the middle. Come on, middle. Up the middle. Why are you not giving me the middle? There we go, middle. Okay, I'm gonna just make sure that this has that there, okay? Because I want to make sure that and yes, part of it is the fact that there is a knot under there. But I'm going to bring this, I'm going to pull a little bit, just a little. I don't need to get really mean and nasty with it. I just need to give it a little tension so that when I go to bring this down, this is one of those stitches that you really want to have some tension on, so you will probably want to, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this out, find my spot there, bring it back around, okay, so that I can get this into its, okay, that one goes that way, this one is going that way. This one does not need to be on the, I'm going to come up here, and I'm right next to this little thread here. Alrighty, we had a little bit of a issue with the whatchamacallit, the camera. Battery died, so we're going to do this as quickly as possible so that we can get through this before the battery dies again. Okay, so taking off my glasses because I can't see. Alrighty, so every time, you know, so I'm just coiling this and going up and putting it in right next to the thread, you know, so your cord is getting tapped down to go right next to the thread, and you make sure, okay, there's one right there, there's one right there, coil it, bring it up, bring it down, and that should start that line now. Now we're going to do this line, and I'm going to pull it in as close as I can to the couch thread, and then bring the thread around, put it on its thing, and we're going to just keep going around. Okay. And again, I'm making sure it's up close to the edge. On this one, we have a line, so we don't have to worry about consistency because we have the line to give us the necessary, you know, between the line and the cord, we have our consistency. Now couching, you can do all kinds of things with couching. This is one thing that we're doing here, is just going round, 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 and we're making sure that we're staying on our lines and trying to match our lines. There was some problem here, but that's okay. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Okay, there we go. Up we go. And around. And up against it. But you can see how this is making a nice little round for our... And I can go up. I can say, oh, hey, I'm on this line. But I also need to be on this line. So I need some room in order to do that. Let's do that. And then we have there. Okay. I'll be back once I've gone around so I can show you the finished product. Thank you. Okay. So now that we have gone through and did the stitching, I've stitched it down. You can kind of see the lines where the stitching went. I tried to make sure that things went up and down properly. One thing I'm realizing now is I probably want to take that one and pull this one down. Okay, so I'm putting it in, and I am doing the best I can to be as straight in the line. I know when you're doing it, you'll have a better view of your work so that you can get those lines a little bit straighter. Okay, so now how are we going to finish this? Because a lot of times this thread is really thick, we're not always going to get that perfect, oh, I want it this way. I'm going to move it into here. Okay, and I'm going to bring it through. I'm going to make sure I have enough tail to bring it through. Okay, so I've brought it through. Now you may want to go through and make, you know, go through and do some other things with it. Put a, you know, if you were working a gold work piece or something, you'd put like maybe some trim or something around it. A lot of gold work pieces are done as appliques. Applique is a very period method of getting what you want done. Okay, so here's the back. Not as pretty as some other stitches, I'm going to tell you that. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I kind of split the thread. That's okay though. Okay, so I'm going to take that down like that. And I'm going to use the back threads to help me just tie this down. Okay? Just a little bit, doesn't need a lot, but it needs to be kept down. Okay? Most of your gold work pieces, the backs are never going to be pretty because of the fact that the nature of the threads that you're working with is such that you're just going to have to do the best you can to make them pretty, to keep them down so that the front stays secure. We're not worried about the back in most gold work pieces because the back just isn't going to be shown. I know of very few gold work pieces that are not lined, or at least not intentionally unlined. If they're unlined, it's because they're pieces that were either in the middle of being worked or the lining has, you know, over the years dissipated, and that happens. So I'm just trying to, some days it takes a little more work than others, but I'm going to pull this down. Let me have a few more, please. Let me have a few more. There we go. And I think I can get one more if I don't lose my thread off my needle. The needle I'm using for this one is because I'm using a, what am I using? I'm using a between needle today because I have a finer thread, and betweens and sharps are better with the finer threads. You use tapestry and chenille needles if you're using thicker threads. Chenille needles are generally for using chenille threads, but they're really nice for doing embroideries. There's also embroidery needles that chenille needles are kind of like embroidery needles or crewel needles, but they are, I'm going to get my metallic shears, and cut this as close to the back as I can. So there's my back. And let me show you this in the front. Let's see if we can get a nice, I may have to make a nice picture, but you can see, looking at it, you can see why couching is a good way to deal with this. Number one, the gold threads, the metallic threads tend to be a little bit more heavy duty. Number two, you get the sheen from them. Maximum usage of the thread, the covering of the thread. So if you're making an altar cloth for your, for the church, the craftsman's going to want to make sure all the gold is on, as much of the gold is on top as is possible. So this is important. One of the other ways you would start, especially if you're using passing threads and stuff, is instead of, in here, we brought it up, we took it down, okay? Some threads you just can't do that with, okay? They're going to fall apart if you try. So what you would do is you would just leave the length here until you were done doing the ornament or whatever it was you were working on. And then you would go through and carefully pop things through the thread using, either a loop method, where you loop over the thicker thread and then you pop it in. That is also part of another couching style called underside couching, which, whereas the couching is all at the top, underside couching, you would be going through the same hole. You'd have your couching thread going through the same hole and then popping it down, popping the over thread down, usually in a pattern, in a diaper pattern. And so when you're looking at a goldwork piece from the Middle Ages, especially Opus Anglicanum, and you look at the background and there's this three-dimensional pattern in the background, that's being done with underside couching. Okay, so all of the threads are coming down to the bottom, but you're getting a pattern in the thread that's on top. Alrighty, so next we're going to work on some laid-in couch work, and that'll be my next lesson. Thank you. Have a great day.